Hi, I'm Dave Monty and welcome to my video series, Everything Villages. Today's topic we're going to cover, when is it the best time to make a trip to the villages to look for a home? When's the worst time? But I'm also going to do a quick little COVID market update because it has affected inventories here in the villages, so stay tuned. Before we get started, most of the information in my videos is contained in my free 40-page guide, Buying and Selling a Home in the Villages. If you'd like your free copy, just email me at davemontysales@gmail.com. As I stated in the introduction, we're just going to discuss when's the best time to make a trip here to the villages to look for a home. This video is going to be 10-15 minutes long to arrive at a couple of time frames. So I'm just going to share those time frames with you. And that way, if you don't want to, you don't have to continue watching. But if you want to know exactly how I arrived at these time frames and learn a lot more about the market and seller and buyer behaviors, just stay tuned. First, you can buy any time of the year. The villages continue to build new homes. There are always resale homes with the villages as well as on the MLS. But what I'm talking about is when is it the worst time and the best time? When is it optimal for you to come down here to get the most out of a home buying trip? Okay? So let's start with the worst. So the worst time is probably from the beginning of February to a little bit into April. And the reason's a little bit obvious is that the demand is just huge. The busy months here in the villages is January through March, and you just have more people in here on vacation and home buying trips, and they just deplete the inventories. Okay? The best time of the year is pretty much right after busy season, and we'll explain a lot more of this, why that's the case further in the video, but through June, and probably the second best time to look is October, November time frame. And again, I'm going to continue on with the video to explain a lot of why this is the case. But first, let's start with a little bit of a COVID update. Nationally, the real estate market has been a huge seller's market outside of the city. You have a lot of people moving outside the city. You have a lot of people who now can work from home and have decided to buy a larger home with a home office. Also, interest rates right now continue to be at historical lows, but there is some talk in the news that when the COVID economic recovery starts happening, that we might see some inflation. And in order to hold down inflation, the Fed might be raising the interest rates slightly. So I think a combination of those across the country has created a really strong seller's market because there's just a lot of buyers. Let's talk specifically about how COVID has affected the market here in the villages. If I take a look at last year, right at the beginning or just before the COVID pandemic, and look at the busy seasons, January, February, and March, there was an average of about 185 homes that came onto the MLS as new listings. If I compare that number to this year that average was about 145 homes came onto the market. And that's a huge percentage decrease. And that could be for any number of reasons. People are nervous about COVID, so they didn't want to put their homes on the market. They didn't want people walking through their homes if they were possibly infected. It could have been for any number of reasons. We are also seeing an increase in demand. Okay, so that increase in demand comes from some of the things I've already stated. People now can work from home, and instead of maybe upgrading their home up north, they said, we're a few years away from retirement. Why don't we just buy a retirement home and work from there until we do retire? So I'm seeing a lot of clients who are in that boat. Okay? But it is offset slightly. I am talking to a lot of people who feel like they've been separated from their grandkids for the last year, and that created a little bit of frustration. So you're seeing a lot of people putting their homes on the market so they can move closer to their children and their grandchildren. All right, so that's enough for the COVID update. And a couple more items to cover about the market. Now, homes with a view and a pool have historically appreciated a little bit faster than everything else here in the villages, but I think it was even more so over the past year because people couldn't go on vacation, so they wanted that vacation look and feel in their home here in the villages. Right? The other thing that's also appreciating a little bit faster now. Not as fast as homes with a view, but faster than the designers are the villas. And I think that's the case. I think we're seeing an aging villages population here who are looking for more maintenance-free living that you can get with the villas. And then also because the villa's courtyard is fenced in the background, a lot of people coming in with smaller pets want to take advantage of that courtyard. Why am I even doing this video? Well, the catalyst for this video is the fact that I've had a lot of buyers in over the last 2 months, and there's been a lot of frustration. Either there's not enough for them to look at, what they are looking at is pretty much picked over. The inventories are picked over, like it looks like empty grocery shelves in the MLS right now, and only the less desirable homes are still in the market. So what we're seeing is if I go and pull up a list of homes and I want to go show 8 of these homes, you might have one that's been on the market for a couple of days that's real decent, and the rest of them have been on the market for a month or 2 months, tend to be a little bit more tired and need upgrades. So like I said, it's created some frustration. I've also had this happen 3 times just in this prior week, where I had a client who was interested in a home and it went pending out from underneath them, to the point where I had a client say, I love this home, and I pick up the phone and call the listing agent and tell them that we're going to make an offer. And the listing agent says, I just have a signed contract. The house just went pending about an hour ago. Another situation is literally walking up to the house, my hand's on the lockbox and a car pulls up. Someone jumps out of the car and slaps a pending sign on the garage door. So this one's a little bit interesting. This actually happened to me yesterday. We were driving to a listing, and on the way I get a phone call from the agent that said, hey, this villa has just gone pending. Now what's interesting, and I'll explain why, and this goes into when is it a good time and when is it a bad time to buy a home, is that the house was on the market earlier last year, and it stayed on the market for 6 months. When they put the house on the market during the busy season, right at the tail end of this busy season, it sold within a couple of days just because there wasn't that much inventory. And it's almost like when you wear down a seller, if a home's been on the market for a long time and the seller gets worn down and they start to accept, any offer that comes their way, the buyers also have fatigue. They've looked and they've looked and they looked and they finally just say, you know what? And this isn't the perfect home for me, but this is a good start and we can make it work for us. Okay? So this is not a buyer's market right now. Okay? Now we're about to enter into it, I believe, in April, and I'm going to share some of those numbers with you. Okay? So I arrived at this by doing a lot of homework, some experience, and some logical reasoning as to why some of these trends are happening. So let's just start with, I'm going to show you a bunch of statistics here and some graphs, and I don't want to get too geeked out on you, but I'm going to explain what I think is going on here. So months of inventory is a metric used in the real estate industry. All it means is if I take the number of homes that are on the market right now and divide it by the pace that the homes have been selling at over the past couple of weeks, it gives me a number of how long it's going to take to exhaust that existing inventory if no other homes come on the market. A balanced market is 6 months worth of inventory. Now, traditionally in the villages, it is well below that 6 months. So it's kind of always a seller's market here. You almost have to go back to the crash in 2008 and 2009 to see inventories over 6 months. So this graph just shows the average by month over the last 10 years of months of inventory on hand. And as you can see, March is traditionally the lowest. I even took out this year's. This year it was incredibly low. It was below 2 months. And I even took that out of the average, and still March is the lowest inventory month here. Now let's talk about when people put their home on the market. We'll start at the end of the year. Again, this is a 10-year average of when people put homes on the market. Traditionally, December is the lowest, and that should be fairly obvious. People don't want the hassle of putting a home on the market. They're going to have visitors coming in. They're getting ready for Christmas. It's just a kind of a hassle. Now, that kind of creates a little bit of a pent-up demand to list homes, so you'll always see that January is the highest month. Also, I believe the smart sellers put their homes on the market in January because they know that is busy season. Okay? So a lot of more homes come on the market in January, February, and March, and then there's an uptick in April. Now, the reason I think there's an uptick in April is the market is so hot for the sellers in those 3 months that I'm sitting here, should I put my home on the market? I'm thinking about it. Maybe I can. Should I not? Then they see a home down the street go for 10,000, 20, 30,000 more than they thought it would go for. Maybe that's not going to be the catalyst. And they see another one and another one. And finally say, well, wow, this market's so hot, I'm going to put it on the market just when everyone's leaving. Okay? So the other reason I think April is a high listing month is what I call the boat effect. When do people sell boats? They don't sell it in the spring when summer's coming. They sell it after they've used the boat, and they sell it in the fall. And I think the same thing here. If someone's thinking about putting their home in the market, they probably want one last hurrah and going to use their home through the winter time, and then in spring put the home on the market. I also think that you do see some of that traditional thinking from up north that the best time to put a home on the market is in late spring. So let's talk about active listings. This is probably the most important metric because it shows you right in front of you how many homes are actively listed in each one of these months. And this is the amount of inventory that is on hand currently. And as you can see, there's a huge uptick in late spring for some of the reasons that we just discussed. It drops off in the summertime and then it picks back up in the fall. But the most important thing is it's not just how much inventory there is, it's a supply and demand issue. So here is a picture of the supply, but now let's put a picture of the demand up. Now this is a crudely drawn line. I'm just showing you relative traffic here in the villages, and there's no y-axis here value for this line because I can't count how many people come into the villages. But what I wanted to point out is that at the highest demand is when you have some of the lowest inventories, and I probably could draw this line up higher and actually even lower here. Okay, and then what you're looking for is when are there high supplies and when there's low demand. So to me, this is the ideal time to look for a home, or right over here. And while I did draw a circle around the summer months, those are also fantastic times to look for a home. While the inventories might be a little bit lower than they are in some of the other times of the year, that's when the demand is the lowest. Also, that's when the rents are cheapest here in the villages, so it's an economical time to come look for a home. Inventories are higher, demand is lower, and traditionally that's what we find. So why is this important? I've already shared with you some of the frustrations that we have, but let's talk about the advantage that this gives you. When you're in busy season, time is of the essence, is crucial. I could show a home, I could show 5 listings to somebody and they love that first listing. I'm trying to tell people, let's stop the showings right now and go make an offer on this home if you love it. Because there's a good chance, because it's only been on the market for a day or two, that by the time we're done our showings, that this house could be under contract. And like I said, that happened a couple times this past week. When you come in these less busy times, you have a little bit more of a time frame to look at homes. You can get through your day without the risk of the house going pending from underneath you half as much. It's also less competitive in the market at that time. So on this next slide, I'm going to talk about some home buying strategies that can maximize your ability to get the exact home that you would like. Okay, so number one is don't buy during busy season. You can buy during busy season, but just know it's going to be a highly competitive market. Homes go off the market incredibly fast. The ones that are left are the ones that tend to need a lot of updating, are very tired. There's something odd with the lot. There's just something off with the home. So if you almost have to get incredibly lucky if you're going to be here for a week or two in the busy season to find the exact home that you like. If you're trying to do a vacation and a house hunting trip at the same time, I would try to vacation in April, May, or October, November. A couple of things. The cost of renting a home here in those months is a lot less than it is in the busy season. And then for all those reasons, it's a little bit less busy and there's more inventory. And you can wait for things to come on the market there, but there's a good chance that there's already going to be some fantastic homes on the market. If you're selling your current home, I wouldn't even recommend a home buying trip. My recommendation is sell your home up north or wherever you're moving from, then rent a home here for a month or two while you're looking for a house. It's very easy to rent a house here, and the reason is it's a vacation destination. You can get a fully furnished home. So what happens, you sell your home, the movers come, it gets stuck in storage for a couple of months. You come down here, you vacation, look for homes, and wait for a home that perfectly matches your needs. The last one is not for the faint of heart. Okay? Now, I see this quite a bit, and it actually shocked me that it happens a lot. Actually, I bought sight unseen when we moved down here, but I had my parents were my Ford Scouts. So if you would like if you have the appetite to do sight unseen, you need a trusted realtor. Now, personally, I'm 3 for 3 over the last year of my clients buying sight unseen and coming into the market, coming into the home and saying, we nailed it. And part of that reason is that I would never recommend sight unseen unless I knew it 100% ticked all of my clients' boxes, or I've revealed to them which boxes it didn't tick so they can make an informed decision. So I do what are called FaceTime showings or video showings or virtual tours for my clients where I get incredibly detailed so they really can get a sense of the flow of the home, the features of the home, the good, the bad, and the ugly, so they can make an informed decision. Okay? Now, I don't want to ruin my record there. So like I said, as I never make that recommendation unless I'm 100% sure. Typically, I do not like to make that recommendation if I haven't already been on a showing tour with that client. So usually this will happen after they've been down here, after I've gotten a feel for what they're looking for, location, what they're looking for in the home, condition of the home. Are they okay with something that needs a few upgrades, or are they looking for something that is brand new and move-in ready? So I hope you found this video informative. As always, in order for this video to reach more people like you, please hit like, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment. All those things help. If you would like a copy of my free 40-page guide, Buying and Selling a Home in the Villages, a lot of the information I share in my videos is in this guide. Just email me here at davemontysales@gmail.com and I'll send you out a copy. Also, check out some of my other videos. I have some other tools that are calculators that are specific to the villages, like a cost of living calculator. I have one that does it make sense for you to buy a home now and rent it out prior to retirement. There's a calculator for that, as well as closing calculators for both the buying and selling side. So if you want any of those, just look at some of my other videos for the tutorials and email me again at davemontysales@gmail.com and I'll send you out your copy. I hope to see you around the villages. Take care.